lot of people have misinterpreted the definitive of marriage. Like, marriage has nothing to do with faith. It has nothing to do with romance. It has nothing to do with intimacy. It does not entail sex. It does not entail a kiss. It does not entail children. It does not entail you sleeping in the same bed together, sharing the same house. Like, marriage does not entail the union that we often discuss within the context of religion and spirituality. Millennials are between the ages of 24, or rather 25 to 40. So, for them to lead that conversation, not to suggest that they are not assets, but they are not as valued as the younger woman. This is a younger woman's game. The reason why younger women are most privy to hypergamy is because, so by definition, hypergamy is the action of marrying a person of a superior caste and or class. So essentially, when you are pursuing hypergamy, you are attempting to leverage yourself within a socio-economic hierarchy. So essentially, you are pursuing marriage, and furthermore, pursuing a high-value man for social prominence and economic stability. So moreover, when you're climbing this theoretical ladder of hypergamy, it's going to be wider at the bottom than it is at the top. So as you ascend, it becomes narrow because the pool of men that you can be privy to is of a lower percentile. Ivory men are not in, or ivory tower men are not of abundance. White collar men are not of abundance. Blue collar men, they may be more of an abundance than the previous, but few to slim. And then you go lower and lower. So yeah, that essentially is hypergamy. You're just climbing this theoretical ladder of freedom. You're basically frameworking your life. And I would say that hypergamy is most ideal for younger women. So I find it to be interesting that millennials often lead this conversation, as they are not as young as one would hope for, when pursuing hypergamy. The most ideal age, at least from my perspective, is 18 to 24. Generation Z is of that age range because the youngest is 6, the eldest is 24. Like I said, the most appropriate in my eyes is 18 to 24. Millennials are between the ages of 24, or rather 25 to 40. So, for them to lead that conversation, not to suggest that they are not assets, but they are not as valued as the younger woman. This is a younger woman's game. The reason why younger women are most privy to hypergamy is because, like I said, you're laying the foundation for your life. When you say you want a high value man, that's not to suggest that every woman wants an ivory tower man. No, it's saying like, I want to be a stay-at-home mother. I want to be a stay-at-home wife. So I want, someone in the military. I want a garbage man. I want a blue collar man. I want to be, a domestic woman. I want a white collar man. So I want a doctor. You know what I mean? That's essentially what hypergamy can be. I'm not saying that's what it always is, because you do have some women that are out here and they're, they're just gold digging and they're very vain and they want what they want because they want it. But moreover, I wanted to have this discussion of hypergamy because when we start to discuss marriage, a lot of people perceive hypergamy as being a distasteful way of pursuing such, because of the intersectionalities of religion and spirituality. A lot of people have misinterpreted the definitive of marriage. Like, marriage has nothing to do with faith. It has nothing to do with romance. It has nothing to do with intimacy. It does not entail sex. It does not entail a kiss. It does not entail children. It does not entail you sleeping in the same bed together, sharing the same house. Like, marriage does not entail the union that we often discuss within the context of religion and spirituality. Referring to the definitive of marriage, marriage is the legally or formally recognized union of two people as partners in a personal relationship. Often when we discuss hypergamy as a means to marriage, it's seen as a business exchange, and that's what makes it so distasteful from the ideal that we have of marriage. But in reality, marriage is a business. It's a legal bonding. It's a formal bonding of two people. It's a partnership, thus being the, business terminology reference. And moreover, I started to think of marriage in the sense of being a business as well, because, you look at dowry and you see how parents give their children, even when you see the ceremony religiously, the father is giving the wife to the husband, giving the daughter away, but also considering dowry. From my perspective and just my research, it's referred to as the transfer of parental property. So the child is property. So you're exchanging your daughter for something else in return. So say you're getting 20 acres and a mule. The husband or the man that wants to propose to your daughter or wed your daughter, he's going to give you 20 acres and a mule, and you're going to give him your daughter. If your daughter so ever decides to come back, or if your daughter is just not wanted by the husband anymore and he brings her back, from what I've researched, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, then the father has to give back that 20 acres and a mule. But I want to say it's often within the context, if the daughter so ever chooses to come back home, then the father would have to give back the 20 acres and a mule. I'm not sure if they, are always liable to give something back. Say the daughter doesn't want to be with the husband, they keep the 20 acres and a mule. I'm not sure, but just based on my research, that's what I got. And moreover, you also have, arranged marriages. And that's what I feel like pertains mostly to the social cast of ivory tower men. You think of like a Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. The reason why these families are so persnickety, as Tamar would say, pertaining to these marriages, is because they are assets. They're family heirs. You don't want anyone to taint the family name socially, and you don't want anyone to jeopardize the economic standing of the family. You don't want it to be a liability. If anything, it's almost like saying you have two wealthy kingdoms coming together to increase the wealth of their family by wedding, daughter and son to each other. So you even think of like arranged marriages, you think of dowry, you also consider the definitive of marriage, and you also take a look at hypergamy. They all go together. They're all business transactions. A lot of people just have a way of making marriage sound more profound than what it definitively is. Moreover, I think when we have this discussion of hypergamy, you just really have to ask yourself, what do you want? And, some people will want a relationship where they are equal contributors. So you'll have one half equals a whole. Or you'll have a relationship where it's like 80-20. You got the person that has it all, and he literally just wants you to compliment. He just wants you to be the young thing on his arm, kind of like Eddie Murphy. That's how I kind of perceived his marriage to his ex-wife. Just this beautiful model-esque woman on my arm. Like, I don't need you to do anything else but be beautiful, have the children, take care of the house. That's the 20%. I'm the 80. I got the bread and butter. You know what I mean? And that makes them a whole. And then you have those relationships kind of like Jay-Z and Beyonce, where it's like 1 + 1 = 2. You got two wholes coming together to make a more fulfilling whole. So it's really just asking yourself, like, what do you want? Either way, like, there still is a level of hypergamy to be considered, or the mentality that is often dealt with in hypergamy still exists if you evade the practice of hypergamy. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense. And prior to me concluding this commentary, I do want to reference historical significance, as I came across a commentator who stated that Black women are unyielding to hypergamy. We don't know how to be hypergamous women, or we don't want to be hypergamous women because we are not willing to relinquish ourselves of control. We seek to overpower the Black man, essentially, is what she was saying. And to a degree, there are some Black women that very well so are like this. There are some Black women that are accustomed to having control. They are accustomed to being given the responsibility of both male and female, to when a man comes into the picture, they're not willing nor yielding to give that man the power that they are to assume, depending on, what you deem is appropriate for man and or woman. But nonetheless, I wanted to speak on that because there's reasoning. There's a reason why there are some Black women that are unyielding to hypergamy, as there too are reasonings as to why Black women are very encouraged to pursue hypergamy. And I'll detail that further. When considering hypergamy, I too must assess the Black matriarch, also assessing urbanization, industrialization, deindustrialization, aid for dependent children, furthermore, introducing welfare. We can also assess systemic racism and or the prison pipeline. Furthermore, introducing mass incarceration, stop and frisk, just the criminalization of black men and almost everything that they did or would do, as seen with like Emmett Till and how he was like physically obliterated because he allegedly looked at a white woman the wrong way. You can consider, the curfews that various blacks were subjugated to, and they had to be under strict limitations as to when they could be in and or out of the house, or where they could be at. So say, for example, a black man is in the wrong neighborhood because his job may be adjacent to that. Say he may be out past his curfew because his job needs him there past 8 and his curfew is at 7. He's liable to lose his working abilities, if that makes any sense. So moreover, excuse me, I had to burp a little, I'm human. But, moreover, I wanted to mention that too, because you also have a better understanding as to why black women may be privy to the hypergamy game, why black women are more in favor of hypergamy, at least within this generation. But nonetheless, proceeding forward, I wanted to reference the Black matriarch because you understand why black women were emasculated, or how black women became further emasculated. And even when we're discussing welfare as well, welfare was not always available to black women. Welfare is not a black woman thing. Welfare was made for white women, and moreover, it was to benefit white men. But nonetheless, I wanted to mention those things too because it gives you a better understanding. Urbanization is the reason why a lot of black people migrated up north due to the industrialization, due to the jobs. And then you had deindustrialization. Black men are out of jobs, but black women are still allowed to work because, they're domestic workers. They're cleaning the house. They're watching their children. You see this in the help. So again, the emasculation of black women, the black female-headed household, and now, black women are saying, I don't want what my mama had. I don't want what my grandparents had. I don't want what my auntie has. I don't want that. I want to be taken care of. I'm tired of taking care of people. So let me pursue hypergamy. So, for black women, I definitely understand this dialogue being had. And for women, moreover, I do understand this dialogue as well. You want to be taken care of. And you don't always want to, be the man of the house as a woman. Hopefully I covered everything. I discussed the black female-headed household, moreover, the black matriarch, which is a prevalent or relevant topic in the black community as it still exists, quite the same as mass incarceration and systemic racism. Urbanization, industrialization, deindustrialization. It just has a further discussion of the economic instability that would furthermore encourage someone to pursue hypergamy because there's this perceived stability, knowing that, like, my husband is a white-collar worker, an ivory-collar worker, a blue-collar worker. Like, there's a financial security as well as support. You're not the only one providing. So it's all interwoven with one another. But hopefully this makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, I do apologize, and I can further explain as mentioned previously. But I felt like that was important to mention. There's more reasonings behind why black women pursue hypergamy than just wanting to be a gold digger. No, it's historical. You have to look to the past in order to affirm yourself presently and to make further projections of the future.